I was still in the desert when the divorce papers landed in my inbox. 13 years of marriage gone, reduced to a PDF attachment. I'm Nathan, 42, a staff sergeant with the 82nd Airborne. I had been in Kandahar for 4 months when Becky decided she was done waiting. The email's subject line read, "Let's be adults about this." The message itself was 3 short sentences, each a punch to the chest. She'd already filed the paperwork. She'd already emptied our joint account. She'd already moved her new boyfriend, Jeremy, into our house in Spokane. I read the email twice, closed my laptop, showered in the communal stall, and got dressed for my shift. I said nothing to anyone. That night, back at my bunk, I replied with one word, asterisk, understood. No arguments, no begging, no threats. My bunkmate Wilson noticed something was off. "You good, man?" he asked, not looking up from his book. "Nah," I said. "Just some stuff back home." He nodded, and that was it. Military guys know when to leave things alone. Truth is, I wasn't surprised. 6 months before deployment, the cracks had started, small, quiet things. Becky stopped asking about my day. She started staying late at the dental office where she answered phones. She joined a gym, going 3 times a week, but never seeming to break a sweat. New clothes, new friends I'd never met, new passwords on her phone. I didn't confront her, didn't snoop through her messages or follow her around. That's not who I am. But I wasn't blind either. So I made quiet moves of my own. No drama, just precautions. I locked important documents, birth certificate, marriage license, the house deed in my name alone, thanks to the VA loan, in a storage unit across town. I added my grandfather's watch and my mom's old silver there too, the things that mattered. I opened a separate bank account and started diverting a small portion of my pay into it. Not enough for her to notice, but enough to keep me from starting from zero if things went south. The night before I deployed, she hugged me at the airport and said, "Stay safe, okay?" Her eyes were dry, like she was saying goodbye to a coworker, not a husband heading to war. I should have known then. But part of me still hoped I was wrong. I wasn't. What she didn't know was that I'd prepared for this moment. What she didn't understand. I never start fights, but I always finish them. I met Becky at a friend's barbecue in 2010. I was home between tours, crashing with my buddy Jason in Spokane. She was finishing nursing school, but took an admin job at a dental practice instead. Less stress, she said. We were married 8 months later. Becky used to say she was proud of my service, though she never quite got it. Her dad was a bank manager, her brother a pharmacist, no military in her family. She'd asked when I was going to get a real job, never realizing that after 15 years, the Army wasn't just a stopgap. It was my career. It was where I belonged. We bought our house in 2014, nothing fancy. Just 3 bedrooms, a small yard, and a quiet neighborhood. The mortgage was in my name alone, thanks to the VA loan. But I added her to the deed. That's what married people do, right? They share things. My dad died a year later, a heart attack while shoveling snow. My mom followed 3 years after that, lung cancer, even though she'd never smoked a day in her life. They left me some money, not a fortune, but enough to pay off our student loans and still have a cushion. I deployed 4 times during our marriage. Twice to Iraq. Twice to Afghanistan. Each time I came home, Becky seemed a little more distant. A little more restless, like she was playing a role she'd outgrown. I didn't sign up to be a military wife, she told me once, after I mentioned re-enlisting for another 4 years. I'm tired of being alone all the time. I understood that. I really did. But the Army was the only place I'd ever felt truly seen, where I was good at my job. Where people depended on me. By 2019, the small things turned into bigger ones. She'd get irritated when I called during her girls' nights. She started talking about how her friend Melissa had divorced her husband and was living her best life. She'd say we didn't have anything in common anymore. I suggested counseling. She said we were fine, just going through a phase. Then came the late nights at work, weekends away with friends I'd never met, the gym membership she rarely used. I should have confronted her. But that's not how I handle things, never have. My dad taught me to think before I speak, to be sure before I act. So I watched and I prepared quietly because my gut was telling me something was coming. And in this life, you learn to trust your gut. 2 weeks after getting that divorce email, I was sitting in the mess hall when my phone buzzed. A notification from our bank app. Another withdrawal, $88,500. Almost everything left. I set my fork down and opened the app. The joint account balance was $22.37. Our savings, $47,000 we'd built up over years, was gone. Transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Murphy, a guy from my unit, glanced over. Bad news. I locked my phone. Nah. Just some account stuff. That night, I called the bank from the base phone center. Turns out Becky had been moving money for weeks, small amounts at first, then larger ones. The big transfers started the day after I deployed. I hung up and stood in the hallway for a long time, watching guys laugh as they called their kids, their wives, their parents. Normal life happening all around me while mine burned down. That's when Wilson found me. Heard from Alvarez, you looked like you'd seen a ghost at dinner, he said. What's up? I don't usually share personal stuff, but Wilson had pulled me out of a bad spot in Kandahar once. I trusted him. My wife emptied our accounts, I said. Moved her boyfriend into our house. Sent divorce papers while I was on patrol last week. Wilson didn't give me the usual platitudes. No, I'm sorry. No, that's rough. No, you'll find someone better. He just asked, what's your plan? Not sure yet, I said. He nodded. Let me know if you need anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled out my laptop and logged into our home security system, something Becky had probably forgotten I could access remotely. The camera showed a strange truck in our driveway. A man I'd never seen before was walking our dog using my coffee mug, wearing my Seahawks sweatshirt, and there was Becky laughing in the kitchen, the same kitchen I'd renovated myself during my last leave. Something shifted inside me. Not anger, exactly. Something colder. Clear dot, I closed the laptop, pulled out my phone, and made a list. 1. Call James Army Buddy, turned Lawyer.2. Check VA. Loan terms. 3. Talk to Master Sergeant about emergency leave. 4. Review home refinance documents. Becky had mentioned them casually last year. 5. Secure my military pension accounts. I didn't feel sad anymore. I didn't even feel angry. I felt focused, like I was planning a mission. This wasn't about emotion now. This was about strategy. At 050 before my shift started. I emailed James with the subject line, asterisk, need legal help, discreet and urgent. His reply came an hour later, asterisk, call me secure line only. Asterisk, when I hung up that call, I knew exactly what to do. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to threaten. I didn't even need to confront her. I just needed to wait, watch, and let her own actions become the trap. 2 months later, I was back on American soil. I didn't tell Becky I was home, no calls, no texts. I checked into a downtown Spokane motel under a different name and met James at a diner 10 miles outside town. You look like hell, he said, sliding into the booth. Feel like it too, I replied. James handed me a folder. Everything. We'd discussed house deed, loan docs, bank statements, and this. He pulled out a separate paper. Found something interesting when I dug into your finances. It was a refinance application with my signature on it, except it wasn't mine. Not quite. Someone had tried to copy it, but they'd missed details. The middle initial was wrong, and the stroke pattern was off. Becky did this, I said, though I already knew the answer. James nodded. 3 months ago, she used the equity to pull out $330,000. Your signature is required for that loans in your name only. Forge my signature, take out a loan against our house, clear our accounts, then divorce me, I said. Busy woman. It gets better, James said. She listed her boyfriend as a co-applicant. He's got a record 2 DU as a fraud. Charged from 2019. I took a deep breath. What are my options? Several, James said. But first, what do you want? I thought about it. I want what's legally mine, and I want her to understand consequences. James smiled. Then, here's what we do. The next day, I drove past her house. Jeremy's truck was gone, but Becky's car was in the driveway. I parked down the street and watched for a while, tempted to knock on the door and confront her, but that wasn't the plan. Instead, I went to the bank and met with the loan officer who'd processed the refinance. I showed him my military ID, my real signature on my driver's license, and the forged documents. His face turned pale. I'll need to report this. Immediately, he said. I understand, I said. I've already filed a police report. That night, I got a text from Becky. Asterisk. Who have you been talking to at the bank? Jeremy said someone was asking questions. I didn't respond. The next day, I went to the county clerk's office, filed paperwork contesting the refinance, fraud, and registered formal notice that no changes to the property could be made without my presence. 2 days later, Becky called. I let it go to voicemail. Asterisk, Nathan, we need to talk. The bank called about the house. What are you doing? If this is about the divorce, we can discuss it like adults. Asterisk, like adults. The same words from her email. I still didn't respond. James called.